just organic systems, but interfaces of potential.
And then they wasted away on the earth with immense smoke. After all this, there was something like a black spear, very long and thick, sighted. The shaft pointed to the east, the point pointed west. Whatever such signs mean, God alone knows. Now, although we have seen shortly one after another many kinds of signs on the heaven, which are sent to us by the Almighty God, to bring us to repentance, we still are unfortunately so ungrateful that we despise such high signs and miracles of God, or we speak of them with ridicule and discard them to the wind, in order that God may send us a frightening punishment on account of our ungratefulness. After all, the God-fearing will by no means.
Oh, excuse me.
On a calm afternoon in 1974,
Biden has pardoned his son Hunter, despite previous pledges.
it's the winter of 1985. A family living in a remote region of the Philippines receives
The recent wave of AI innovation
Detail our position on one of the most acute international crises.
Okay, there's a lot going on with UFOs today, so get in here. This is Jack with Cosmic Road. I talk about UFOs and the paranormal. Please like and subscribe and let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Yeah, to start with, of course, since it's the 3rd of December, we have to talk about the Cliff High prediction a little bit more, and I'm just going to let Cliff tell it in his own words. He says to get your popcorn ready.
We had this situation within the data in 2009 that had been reinforced over the years from 2009 through to 2015 that said that 39 days after this TM took place, we would have the beginning, and this is where Igor and I did our fighting, we would have this visible contention that would dissolve into a melee. And at the time, and even in our even in our conversations here recently, he wanted to say, and I'll title this way in honor of Igor here, but he wanted to say that it was 39 days to melee, which is a catchy phrase. Okay, it'd be a nice title for a book or something. But in my opinion, it's not quite accurate, right? Because we don't know what the distance is between the organized visible contention that then degrades into the melee. That might be months for all we know. But what we do have some justification for suggesting is that there will be 39 days between the temporal marker of the Trump interview and the appearance of this visible contention. And we're not talking, people taking on migrant gangs that are taking over apartment buildings. That kind of visible contention may well be in there, but the stuff that had been motivating me to get hold of Dick Allgaier was the visible contention between space aliens.
And Dick Allgaier, of course, is with the Future Forecasting Group, a great group of remote viewers. They are the ones that predicted the Israeli attack a week before it happened. They're super talented, super legit. I've had Daz Smith, another remote viewer from Future Forecasting Group, on the channel a couple of times. I love Daz, I love Dick. They are just awesome remote viewers. And yeah, they remote viewed Cliff High's prediction, seeing this UFO battle.
Okay, so, or whatever, right? Alien reproduction vehicles or whatever the hell. Who knows what's going on? Because we can't validate any of it at this point, right? Now we've got that sense of linguistics again, and apparently we have confirmation that the interview will take place, and therefore we'll have it as a temporal marker itself. And so that sets going a sort of a timer. Bear in mind what I was telling you about how we get these times, right? It's software adding up all of this shit based on all these words, and we're constantly wrong to some great degree. And it varies based on the size of the set, the amount of processing it takes, and yada, yada, yada. So it's not like any kind of guaranteed date or anything, right? It is just, I am alluding to the possibility that there's a short period of time between barely over a month, between the temporal marker and the visible contention that will appear in the skies.
Okay, so there you go. 39 days from the Trump-Rogan interview. We will get visible contention in the skies that will lead to a melee, some sort of actual fight or struggle. Who knows, guys? I hate to make any predictions. I'm not going to make any predictions. Every time there's a prediction, it doesn't come true. So we'll see if anything happens in this case. I do place a lot of stock in the future forecasting group and their predictions and their viewings. I'm not really conversant with Cliff High and his own predictions, although I know people personally who do. And have actually profited from some of his predictions with Bitcoin. And Benny is very excited about that. But there you go, guys. Cliff High saying that there's definitely some wiggle room in that date. That's not like a locked-in date. And we may not be seeing a UFO battle today or tomorrow. Some people think it's on the 4th. But we will see at least visible contention that will lead to this melee, as he calls it. Now, it's possible this visible contention has already happened in the UK drone situation, whatever's going on there. At least some of those objects seem to be drones. Some of them seem to be something more anomalous, and one of them appears to have been shot down, at least according to this Reddit post. Beck Row woman says she saw a drone shot down at RAF Mildenhall. A woman who lives close to Suffolk Air Base, which has been at the center of mysterious drone activity, claims she saw one of them shot out of the sky. RAF Mildenhall is one of 3 U.S. air bases in the region, alongside Laken Heath in Suffolk and RAF Feltwell in Norfolk, that has been targeted with several nights of drone activity. A spokesperson for the United States Air Force in Europe said earlier this week the drones were not believed to be hostile. Drones have been flying above Suffolk air bases, including Laken Heath. Drones have been flying above Suffolk. Yeah, okay, it's just repeating what we already know. The Ministry of Defense said it takes the threat seriously. Of course, Cliff Sharp has also said they're mum, and they won't divulge any more information about what's going on. I live a stone's throw from the base, so I hear everything, said Ms. Mason, the stepdaughter of a U.S. fighter pilot. On Monday, I saw something that looked like it had been shot out of the sky, and I think this was last Monday, by the way. What I saw came down and then fizzled out. To me, it looked like a drone had been shot down. Crystal Nason from Beck Row Crystal. Yeah. Anyway, it's garbled there. But there you go. The stepdaughter of a U.S. fighter pilot, at least according to this Reddit post, says she saw a drone being shot out of the sky. Now, why is this the first time they've shot anything out of the sky in the UK in this drone incursion? Or is this not the first time? This is just the first time that we've heard about it. And was it just a regular drone? Was it an anomalous drone? How does it relate to the drones over the U.S. air bases that have been going on for a while now? And of course, we've had activity going back many, many years, very similar sorts of activity. Much of it seems to be anomalous and not a drone. But there you go. Maybe the UFO battle has already begun, and that is a visible sign of contention in our skies. I don't know, guys. It's such a weird time to be alive. Richard Dolan chimes in. He says, "Don't dismiss mystery drones over U.S. bases as mere pranksterism. Remember, UFO/UAP incursions have plagued sensitive military sites for decades. Indeed they have. Secrecy shrouds these incidents, revealing only one thing. Whatever they are, they're sophisticated enough to breach secure airspace. Yeah, and somebody brought up a really good point in the comments to my video yesterday, saying that, well, they claim they can't shoot these down. Of course, we know now that they can, but at least in the UK, I don't know about the US, but they have claimed that they are unable to shoot these things down because of laws restricting their behavior. If they're not hostile, they can't shoot them down, right? And Kirsten Gillibrand is trying to get that overturned, trying to pass a law saying, hey, you can shoot them down now. That hasn't been passed yet. So why were they able to shoot at the balloons, right? In Balloon Gate, we know they shot at least one balloon down and various other objects. Ross Coulthart says at least one of those objects was anomalous, and that Biden himself ordered that shootout. Benny is really intrigued by the president ordering the shootout of a UFO and then not telling the public about it, right? Meanwhile, signing off on the UAP Disclosure Amendment, which is interesting. Trying to make sense of all this is difficult. But there you go. They did shoot down at least one balloon that was not overtly hostile. So what's the difference between that balloon and these drones? Not just the ones in the UK, but the ones in the US as well. If you have any idea what the legal difference is, why you can shoot at one and not the other, let me know. Yeah, really interesting. Meanwhile, Nancy Mace is saying the FBI is in on the whole UFO situation, and we had that compared to, well, you'll find out.
I've seen memos between the FBI and the U.S. Army where they're saying, we'll help you with this crash retrieval program, but you have to give us access to the crashed craft that the government tells us doesn't exist.
We're running one coming up in November. A bunch of people from the FBI want to come because they have a program.
They have a program, the FBI has a program, and they wanted in on the crashed craft that Nancy Mace is talking about. It's interesting that you seem to have these different factions doing different things. Some of them seem to be opposed to each other, which seems to be what the eminent domain issue might be about. They're trying to get stuff from Lockheed Martin and Boeing because they won't pony up, right? So you have these different groups doing different things, and then we have the Lockheed Martin JSOC firefight in which there were actually deaths over fighting with UFOs. He's not hungry, he just ate, he's just being talkative. He's just telling me all about it. He thinks it's really intriguing that there's these factions involved in UFOs. Meanwhile, Danny Sheehan says there is stuff that he cannot talk about.
Months ago, I think over a year ago, there was a lot of rumors, and there still are out in the public, that actually the U.S. government has successfully reverse engineered one of these vehicles, or more than one, and that we're actually training humans to pilot them. Do you have any further information about that? I know you were very skeptical when we first discussed it.
Yeah, I do have more information about that. To answer your question, I do.
Can you share what it is?
Actually, no. It's one of the things right now. Not because I'm not inclined to do so. It's just that I've promised not to do it.
Now, did he promise Luis Elizondo that he couldn't do that? Or did he promise somebody else that he couldn't do that? I don't know, but it's really intriguing. It's frustrating that these guys know stuff they can't talk about. But there you go. They do and they can't. But Danny does know some stuff, and I'd love to know what he knows. Meanwhile, we're never going to get to the truth of UFOs without understanding that they exist in a broader context, what I call the greater phenomenon. 1/3 almost of alien abductees are near-death experiencers. They've died, been to the other side, and come back. That's according to the Edgar Mitchell Foundation. Fascinating statistic. One of many, many examples of the confluence of UFOs and what I think of as the metaphysical. You might think of it as spiritual or other dimensional consciousness. However you want to think about it. The UFOs seem to be existing as a subset of what I think of as the greater phenomena. All these things are all connected. Near-death experiences, UFOs. They all seem to be connected in some way. And the UFOs aren't even a distinct subset because it's all baked into the same thing, as, for example, the statistic with near-death experiences. So why not delve into near-death experiences a little bit? In this particular case, I've delved into near-death experiences a lot. I make a great study of near-death experiences. They're super fascinating. That's our best glimpse beyond the veil. People have died and come back and sharing their information with us. However dreamlike or fantastical these, accounts are, they're extremely fascinating. And, even though sometimes their information is at odds with each other, that too is fascinating. I've made an equally deep dive into alien abductions, and they get pretty weird pretty fast. They get pretty trippy. But, get back to near-death experiences. In this one particular experiencer's account, it's interesting because, as with various others, he has witnesses to part of his experience. In particular, there was a shared death experience that was shared by the doctor on duty. Getting back to the thing without editing my cough. This gentleman, he was in a tragic car wreck. They killed his wife and almost killed him. And it did kill him. He died. He went to the other side. He actually met his wife on the other side. And she can...
Hello and welcome back to the channel. Thank you for joining me today. Now, a number of people have been in touch with me and saying, hey Richard, do you know what's happened to Funky Prepper? You remember Funky Prepper? He'd been on my show a couple of times, and when I was banned from YouTube because I'd said something rather silly or whatever it was, and I got kicked off for a week or so, he very kindly invited me on and said, come and let everybody know that you're okay, and that you haven't sort of fallen down a mine shaft and disappeared into the Outer Hebrides or somewhere like that. And I said, oh, that's very kind of him. It was very, very nice of him, because he has a similar audience to what I have. Anyway, he's disappeared. He's vanished off the face of the earth. The other day I did a little mention out and said, does anybody know what's happened to him? And didn't really have anything back from that other than a few people who were very worried. Well, I have had a phone call from Darren, otherwise known as Funky Prepper. By the way, this is his website, his YouTube channel, Funky Prepper. If you don't know who he is, what he does is he does stuff about prepping. Here we go, look. News about prepping, how to look after yourself in the woods and how to protect yourself from, starving and going under and all those sort of things. If the worst happened in the world, he would be giving you plenty of advice on all of that. And there we are. Look, there's the video in which I could just see it down there. Richard Vogue's banned on YouTube some months ago. And he's been very, very kind mate. Anyway, he disappeared. And people were going, well, what's happened to him? Where is he? So I finally got a phone call from him, and unfortunately, like all of us, we all go through this. We perhaps cross a line that's very difficult to know where that line is because of the terms and conditions of YouTube are very vague. They don't say, well, hold on a second, you can't say this and you can't say that, or you can't do this. And it's very difficult to try and sort of push as far as you can and challenge certain things because, freedom of the press and all that sort of stuff, the ability to be able to say, I'm a bit concerned about what's going on in the world, and are you concerned? Sharing opinions, that type of thing. And sometimes, you cross the line. I've said things myself on various occasions that YouTube have not been very happy about. And sometimes these messages seem to not come from YouTube per se, but from the World Health Organization. If you've made an allegation or you've sort of hinted that something is likely to be happening, because that's how you've read the other bits of press. None of us actually know. We're not there in the dungeons where all the sort of, the dark forces are sitting there making their plans. and slowly and surely they make their plans against us. You don't know, so you're trying to read, between the lines, what's happening, trying to help people. People send you information, you've no idea, you try and verify bits and pieces, and you think, well, actually, that does sound like the sort of playbook they're working from, all that kind of stuff. So, it's very easy to fall foul when you're in this line of business. And all you're trying to do, all people like Funky Prepper and myself are just trying to help humanity deal with the various strange nature of the world. We all feel it, don't we? I mean, I talk about the government and some of their strange policies that they put out there. They seem very anti-human, these policies. They don't seem to be of benefit for the people. And I'm often saying, surely democracy is from the bottom up, not the top down. And I've talked about that enough times. People thought he was dead, and some people and he said the problem is that he's unable to get online at the moment. He's not got a phone, and he's had to borrow a phone in order to contact me. But the problem is, when you do this, you're relying on money coming in from the advertising or donations or any affiliate links that you might have on YouTube. It becomes a business, and people enjoy it, and they watch your videos, and they say, keep going, keep doing more, we'd love to do more. And so you set yourself up on this channel, whatever channel it is on YouTube, and you throw everything you've got at it. But then, if, for whatever reason, powers that be say, "Oi, you can't come on the channel anymore," you suddenly realise, oh, hang on a second, what am I supposed to do now? And it's a kind of a way of silencing people, isn't it? You see this all the time, the council culture, in which people are cancelled all the time in order to shut them up. Now, I don't really know what's going on with Funky Prepper, but I can tell you that for the moment, he is unable to get online, he's unable to make calls, he hasn't got a laptop, he's having to borrow bits and pieces from other people, and he is financially strapped. Now, if you are one of his fans and you're worried about him, you might want, as indeed I shall, make a donation to him to keep him going. Christmas is coming, he's got a young boy, and in order to sort of pay the bills when you're not doing what you normally do, and trying to find, another form of employment temporarily, because he wants to come back. This is in his blood. He wants to come out and share with the world his knowledge of prepping and all the things that he does. But if you want to help him out, I will put the link to his PayPal account in the description here.
Hello, humans. Hello, human.
Okay, guys, so in today's
Good morning, good evening, or good afternoon, depending on where and when you're watching this broadcast. I'm Thomas Fester, my friends, and this is Disclosure Tonight. Happy Monday, December 2nd, 2024, as we hit the 10th day of UK Drone Mania. My gosh, what's going on, my friends? We haven't seen this much excitement in UFOs going on since we had, not the last hearing, I can tell you that, no, since the last time we had UFOs getting shot in the United States of America. How about that? On that note, let's go ahead and have some fun, folks, and let's go ahead and find our audience. Who in the heck do we have out there? Let's go ahead and take a look. Participants, we have April R. Cole. So this airport situation.
Welcome, everyone. It's your host, Danny Hai-Fong. It's great to be back with you for another stream after the holiday. So we are going to talk today about Syria, which has become a headline story over the past 4 or 5 days since November 27th, when HTS, the rebrand of the al-Nusra Front, stormed Aleppo and other parts of northwest Syria. Now, this development has shocked many in the collective West in the United States, but perhaps not Syria or its allies in the resistance. We've seen misinformation explode over this time period with rumors of Bashar al-Assad's downfall, the breakup of the Syrian Arab Army, the impotence of Russia, Hezbollah, and Iran, all running wild as rumors. But what is the truth? We have two special guests today to discuss this. We are going to bring them on now. First, we have former U.S. Marine Corps intelligence officer and a UN weapons inspector, journalist, and author, Scott Ritter. Scott, it's great to be with you.
Good to be here.
And then we have Andrei Martyanov. He is an expert on all things military, especially Russian military affairs. He's also a geopolitical analyst and a prolific author himself. Andrei, good to be with you again.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Well, it has been quite the week, guys, so how about we get right started? I wanted to start with you, Scott. It has been quite the whirlwind over the past 5 or so days since November 27th. We see the situation in Syria really spiraling out of control over this period. There were reports of the Syrian Arab Army's retreat from Aleppo. Now the al-Nusra Front, or what is now called HTS, has taken a significant portion there. We know that now clashes have heated up between the Syrian Arab Army. Russian airstrikes are occurring. There's been a whirlwind of diplomacy as well between Syria, Iran, and Russia. I'd like you, if you could, because this is a topic, Sky, I know you've covered this for many years, that has been subject to much propaganda, or what the kids like to say, hasbara these days. Could you help us understand what is going on right now in Syria and how it has related to the geopolitical developments that we have been covering so much here on this channel?
Well, I mean, I'll start off, as I always do, by pointing out that, I am looking at this long distance based on fragmentary reports that come in from sources that, in the real world, I wouldn't use. I'd like to have eyes on target and things of that nature, but, we have what we have. And so what happens is you have to filter this through, I guess, past experience, history, et cetera, to try and come up with an assessment of what's going on. It appears that this offensive is something that has been in the planning for some time now. These forces are well trained, well equipped. They're operating off of a well thought out game plan, and it's something that's clearly been rehearsed. There are reports that they had sleeper cells inside Aleppo that were able to emerge and help sow confusion. The Israeli activization of exploding pagers implies that Israel was factored into this effort. This couldn't have happened without Turkish, not just Turkish permission and support, but Turkish participation. Many reports from prisoner interrogations, which always have to be taken with a grain of salt, but backed up with some other evidence, clearly shows that the Turkish military was involved in planning and executing this operation. They made extensive use of drones, according to